Hi, I'm Joe Theismann, world champion quarterback and entrepreneur, and I have the pleasure to be visiting and sitting with Lisa Ryan, who has a company called Grategy. What a terrific name that is. It's interesting that you talk about Grategy and gratitudes. When my leg was broken, people would come up to me all the time and say, what a tragedy. Joe, that was such a tragedy. I reflect back on it and constantly say, no, it wasn't. It was a blessing. We, I think, at times cannot make the conscientious decision to leave where we are in a particular space, to move on to something that we really want to do because we're afraid to let it go. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you talk about when it comes to Grategy?
So the message that I've been bringing to organizations is, how do you create that employee engagement? How can we take that same sense of gratitude and appreciation into our business? When I first started speaking about this, employee engagement was not as big as it is now.
Sure.
But what they're finding is there's so many studies and articles that are coming out every day.
Of which I might say you probably have read them all.
Yes, I have.
I figured as much. Why not?
I read a lot,
a lot
of them.
Uh-huh.
There's numbers behind it that show how much more productive, how much more enthusiastic people are when they are actively engaged. And unfortunately, that's only about 30% of the workforce today.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Just 30%?
30%.
You would think it would be greater.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking for involvement, if you're looking for people getting excited about being someplace, you have to think to yourself, it's got to be more than 30%. I mean, or else you wouldn't have any productivity.
Right. Well,
that's what you would think.
Yeah, and this is in the actively engaged. And what that means is the people that love what they do, they get into the flow, they have that best friend at work, and they share what they do with their family, with their friends, because they're excited to be there. About half of the workforce is into that area where it's a balance. They're not engaged or disengaged. They just kind of show up. They're doing enough work so that they don't get fired, and the company's paying enough so that they don't leave.
Right.
It's the actively disengaged people that are the poison in the organization. Okay. And that one poisonous person, they are taking away from the productivity, from the profitability of the company, not only for that person, but for everybody that they're surrounding, that is coming into contact with them. So my goal is to create that environment and to work with organizations so that their top talent doesn't become someone else's.
I see.
And we can do that by building that emotional connection. That's what Grategy does better than anything else, is we bring in buy-in. There's so many programs out there, and people are always looking for what's that next best thing that I can bring to my organization and turn it around, and you get into that grin and agree. Yep, here's one more program that management is bringing in. Yep, we're going to listen and smile, and then we're going to do exactly what we want.
Right.
And what we do is we start here. We start with that buy-in to let them know that not only are these principles and strategies that work in the business environment, but they can also transfer that affects all of their relationships at home. We bring in the consistency, so that you do have that same staff working with your people. You know, imagine going to the dentist and every time you're in there, there's a different receptionist, there's a different hygienist.
Oh.
And turnover is expensive.
Sure.
So we work with that, and we do it in low cost and no cost strategies by simply sharing the proper way, and the best way is to say thank you.
Okay, now if people wanted to get in contact with you, how would they go about doing it, to ask you to come and speak?
Sure. My website is www.grategy.com, and I can be reached lisa@grategy.com as well. I would love to hear from you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks so much. You bet.